Hello and welcome again to RC Model Reviews. I'm Bruce Simpson, I'm your reviewer, and it's another edition of the not so weekly news in which I try and keep you up to date with what's happening here, what's happening in the industry, and what's coming up. So what have I got on my list? You know I'm old, I forget. First of all, now some time ago I reviewed the little 200 milliwatt tiny little FPV transmitter, and I said there was some, the first one was fine, second one had problems, third one was fine. What do you do? So I did the review based on the first unit, and that was a silly thing to do because I've discovered now with a lot of products you need to have several units to do the review so that you can be sure you've not just got a good one or just got a bad one. So I've got some new FPV transmitters to test. It's these ones in this bag. These are 250 milliwatt, 32 channel, so they're compatible with the Boss Cam and supposedly the Fat Shark, but we'll check that out. And yeah, 250 milliwatts, they're quite big. They're quite big compared to that little one. They're a bit heavier too. But these do have on board a camera regulator, which means you can run a 5-volt camera and they'll take up to 6 cell input. So if you're running a 12-volt camera, you can just connect the camera to the video transmitter and plug the video transmitter into your 6 cell battery. And you don't have to worry about UBEX and other regulators and things. So that's quite a good feature if you're flying with models that have more than 3 cells. So I'm going to check all that out, and I've got 3 of these, and I'll test them all and make sure that there's no good ones, bad ones. So I'll get some consistency in the reviewing. I've also got the little mini FPV transmitter, another one of those tiny ones. I think it's 6 or 7 grams, and I've used it on the MXP 230, and it performed very well. No patterning, no lines like the other ones sometimes do. And if you look at the MXP 230 review, you'll see me mention it there. Part 2 of that review. But yeah, I'm going to do a review on those as well coming up, because in these mini quads you want really light gear. Lightweight is great. The lighter your mini quad, the better it will perform. So this, yeah, you can put it in a mini quad, but it's going to weigh more than the little micro one. So we'll just try them all and see how they go. So that's what I'm going to be doing with that. Also, a lot of people have said we want the review of the Aurora 9X. Now I did review the Aurora A9 when it first came out. And this is the 9X. This is the next edition sort of thing. It's got a much higher resolution, 4096 point resolution. The original Aurora only had 1024, which was pretty dowdy these days. It also has much lower latency, because one of the complaints the original Aurora was is too much latency. So they've addressed all those issues, and it doesn't have a module in the back with a crappy cable. It's all integrated, it's all built in. So that's a review. Several people use this radio on the weekend. I'll get their thoughts on it. Most of them thought it was a really nice radio. And they used it to fly the MXP 230. So that's what I've set it up with, using the Delta 8 receiver. But I've also got some high-tech receivers, the Minima, the Maxima, and Optima, or whatever. I'll be checking all those as well. So that's coming up. For those of you who are tired of the mini quad reviews, there's other stuff coming up. What else have I got here? Oh yes, I'm also going to be reviewing the Naze FRo Mini. Now, the Naze 32 boards, as I've said, they're brilliant, they're excellent, I just love them. You put them in, you don't have to tune them, as long as you're in horizon mode or what is it, the other mode, self-stabilizing modes, self-leveling. They just work. They just work. You don't have to play with PIDs, they just work. So if you're getting into mini quads or quads of any kind, those Naze 32 boards are just the bee's knees, but it can be hard to get hold of them. And I noticed that abusemark.com, who make them, had the Naze FRo Mini boards, which are supposedly the same thing. They've left a few bits out. For example, it doesn't have a USB interface. You've got to use an FDDI or another little board that connects from a USB port and plugs into the board itself. So you can't just plug a USB cable into your flight controller and into your computer. You've got to have a little board in between, but they're a couple of $3. And it saves you carrying around the weight of all that circuitry you don't use except when you're programming your board. So that's brilliant. And I've used it, again, in the MXP 230. It just works so wonderfully well that, I have to give that a thumbs up. But there's a full review coming on that, because there's some things you need to know. It does some things that the Naze 32 standard board doesn't do, but it misses out on some other things that the Naze 32 offers. So whether it's going to be the board for you, you'll have to watch the review and find out. That's coming up very soon. Now, something I found very interesting was that most of the time when I order stuff or when people send me stuff from overseas, it comes through New Zealand Customs, and because it's under the limit at which tax applies, it just sails through. There's never been any issues. But in the last couple of weeks, every single item just about that has come to me from outside New Zealand has been opened and inspected by New Zealand Customs. I wonder why. Am I on a watch list? Is there something going on that I don't know about? Or are they just deciding to have a sort of a check all the packages? Other people who have imported stuff have said they haven't had the problem, so maybe I am on a watch list. Who knows? I'm such a dangerous criminal character. And who knows, maybe Model Flying New Zealand has raked in the customs to try and deal with me now, I don't know. But all my packages are declared at 100% full value, and if there's tax to pay, I pay it. Simple as that. Nothing to hide, nothing to fear. Now, a word about a couple of things. First of all, in the USA, as we know, the FAA has gone all nutso and decided to basically effectively ban FPV with goggles, saying that if you've got goggles in FPV, it's no longer a model aircraft, it's an unmanned aerial system, and you've got to have a commercial operating authority. I've done a video, I've done a rant on it, you've all seen it, you know what the situation is. But obviously there has to be some serious lobbying to counter this new approach from the FAA. So in America, several of the leading FPV companies have got together and created an FPV Trade Association. So they are basically pooling their resources and saying, well, we represent FPV manufacturers because under these new interpretations, it's illegal to fly FPV, and also it's illegal to even test FPV equipment, because if you're using it, even testing for commercial purposes, again, you've got to have this commercial operating authority. It's just crazy and it's crap. So they've formed the FPV Trade Association, and if you go to the website, which I've linked below in the description, you'll be able to see what's going on there. I've linked the name of RCModelReviews to that because I think it's important that everyone possible stands up to the FAA and says, hey, you've got it wrong. You've really got it wrong, so you need to rethink this. So the more voices that go towards that, the better. And the more coordinated groups like the FPV Trade Association, the better. It's the only way you're going to rescue FPV in the USA, I tell you now. Something else related to FPV is the North American FPV meeting, and that's coming up on the 22nd to the 24th of August, so it's not far away. So again, there's a link in the description here. You better go and click on that link, and if you're interested, go and register. Now, I think this is in America, not in the USA, but it's in Canada, where they don't call FPV flying illegal anymore. You can still fly with goggles in Canada, I think. Is it Ontario? I don't know. Go and look at the website. But it means that if you're down in the USA and the upper states, you can cross the border and fly legally, despite what the FAA says. So get along to that meeting if you can. It's a great opportunity to see what other people are doing, to show them what you're doing, to share the experience, make new friends. And that's what this hobby's all about, you know, enjoying yourself and making new friends. So if you can, get along to the North American FPV meeting and put some video up. Show us all what happened. We'd love to see it. Now, something else that happened last week, which was very interesting. Now, I posted a video on my XJet channel showing myself flying my mini quad, my Blackout mini quad, in the park. And of course, the park is less than 4 kilometers from the airfield. So in theory, I was breaking the law. I was infringing on CAA regulations, and I was expecting something to happen, and it did. I had a visit from a CAA investigator. Remember, CAA is the New Zealand version of the FAA. A CAA investigator and associate came along to interview me about my grievous offending. And we had a good chat and discussed things, and they pretty much agreed that, well, you know, I wasn't a threat to the national airspace since I was flying under the trees and around and through some playground equipment. Hardly constitutes a danger to 747s and Cessnas, which must be at least 400 feet above. And also, in respect to the children that were there, they could see that I flew very responsibly, and when children turned up, I landed and showed the kids the wonders of the hobby and didn't fly over their heads and didn't put them in any danger at all. So they were pretty much convinced, yes, okay, this is a storm in a teacup. But the fact that they came, the fact that somebody wearing a cocoa-stained t-shirt obviously contacted CAA and said, this guy's breaking the law, you've got to do something. And the fact that they sent 2 people, and these people come from Wellington, which if you look on the map of New Zealand, it is a 1,000-kilometre round trip to come to see me and go back home again. That's what expense was involved in actually coming to talk to me about it. Yet, when I've shown people model flying New Zealand members clearly breaking the regulations in a way that does compromise safety, nothing happens. So the silliness continues, and gets even more interesting because the person from CAA, the investigator that spoke to me, contacted me yesterday on Monday and said, well, you haven't actually broken the law because you have an exemption that allows you to fly within 4K of the airfield. And I said to the person, but that exemption was rescinded. I received an email that said your exemption is being rescinded. And the investigator told me, no, it hasn't been rescinded at all. It's still active. So what the hell is going on at CAA? Is one person just making things up? I don't know. But apparently my exemption is still in effect. So I'm still legally entitled to fly at the airfield or within 4 kilometres of the airfield after I was told that it was being withdrawn by the person who I'd been dealing with. This is the problems I have with CAA. I had to go out and break the law to get their attention, and then I find that I've been told a whole lot of lies by a government organisation. So if you can't trust a government organisation, who the hell can you trust? There's something really bad in this country. It needs to be addressed, and needs to be addressed quickly, because people have lost their lives due to inaction by the CAA. And I'll put a link to a story in here which shows you exactly what I'm talking about. CAA needs a new broom. Need to kick out the dead wood and put some decent people in that know what the hell they're doing and are honest when they deal with the public. Right, so what else? Oh yes, I've got some Blackout arms. See that? The nice people from Blackout sent me these arms, but I've already got arms on my Blackout. The difference is that if I find my Blackout, you'll notice that these arms are a little longer. Just line them up. There you go, see? A little bit longer than the old ones. Why is that? Because, well, you can use 6-inch propellers with these arms, and that's great because mini quads are evolving so quickly. What used to be 5-inch props on 3 cells, now people are going to 4 cells, now they're going to 6-inch props and bigger motors, so these things are getting ever faster. And I know some of you don't want to see more mini quad stuff, but you will be seeing my Blackout flying with 6-inch props because I've already seen some video on YouTube and they look so damn impressive. Also coming up, of course, the QAV250 review for those of you who love the mini quads, and I've been flying that and I've been tuning the board and getting there, and I've got some interesting observations to make on that craft. And of course, now that I've got the farm, there'll be some fixed wing reviews. I've got boxes and boxes of models here which I've been dying to review. Couldn't do because of the situation with the airfield here. Now we've got a 350-acre farm, and apparently I can still fly at the airfield because despite the lies I was told, my exemption wasn't revoked. So work it out. So anyway, whatever the case, there will be more fixed wing reviews. Of course, it's winter. It's winter here now, so we've got rains and gales today. It's been blowing a gale and we've had buckets of rain. So I'm still a victim of the weather. I'm still reliant on the weather improving to the point where I can actually fly stuff. The weekends haven't been too bad, but I've been so busy helping other people and setting stuff up for other people. I haven't had much of a chance to actually take out any of my aircraft and fly. In fact, last weekend, I think I had about 2 minutes of flying in a whole Sunday. But there you go. That's it. Another Not So Weekly week from RC Model Reviews. If you've got things you'd like to know, things you'd like to see, put them in the comments. Ask, and I'll do my best to provide. Some people have said, can you review the Bixler 3? So if enough of you are interested, I'll get a Bixler 3 when they're back in stock, and I'll review it and see how they go, see how they compare to the AXN and the older Bixlers, which a lot of people like, but some people don't. Never mind. So there you go. Time for me now to get back to the bench from hell, and actually I might have a tidy up. Do you want to see a video of the tidy up? It would be a long video and probably boring, but never mind. Thanks for watching. I will see you again very soon on RC Model Reviews. And now you know what I'm doing.